I don't know if George Marsden ever stepped foot in Springfield, but I'm pretty sure he would have driven by it, having been at Yale and having an interest in Jonathan Edwards, and Jonathan Edwards having a church up Interstate 91 from Springfield in Northampton. Reading Marsden's book, it resonated with me how similar what he was describing was to what happened at my institution, American International College, which was an example of Protestant hegemony in its start in 1885 in Lowell, Massachusetts, as a Protestant college with Reverend Green as its first president, whose mission was to provide for the needs of French Canadian immigrants, with special reference to becoming efficient teachers, missionaries, and preachers of the Protestant faith. Moving to Springfield in 1888. When I first started working here in 2014, we had Good Friday as a holiday, but that was found to be too divisive and was replaced with a floating holiday. When my colleague, the Reverend John de Bonneville, passed away in 14, his office of ministry and chaplain was never refilled. And in fact, the school once had a church that it sold off to a church that unfortunately was the victim of a hate crime and arson this year. But the point being, this is now a completely secular institution, divorced from its religious past. And as shown by our Vice President of Finance at a town hall meeting, in a presentation, it hasn't helped the institution, which still faces tremendous challenges in enrollment and financing. As a career director, I've been influenced by the work of Farouk Day at Johns Hopkins University and at Stanford, and Christine Y. Cruz Vergara, formerly of Wellesley, now at Handshake, a platform I can't afford to provide to my students, but that Liberty actually provides to us, which is a dynamic career development platform. Robert Pryor and Jim Bright's chaos theory is also influential. Let's jump back to Farouk Day and Cruz Vergara. They made the point that it is no longer enough for students to graduate educated. They now expect, and their families expect, them to graduate with a job. Chaos theory, which is well described in a bad Ashton Kutcher movie you may have seen called The Butterfly Effect, posits that the rate of change with globalization, deindustrialization, and automation has grown to the point where we really can't project the future. And that something as simple as a butterfly's wings flapping across the globe is enough to upset our meteorological models. The coming storm is going to impact that power structure identified so skillfully by Marsden that came to power in the 20th century. Thomas Kuhn's book on scientific revolutions, though one of the worst books I've ever had to read, has a lot to offer with regard to this, although it will make you ready to tackle Ulysses by James Joyce when you're finished with it. The hegemony of multicultural, secular, feminist, Marxist coalitions is going to face a tremendous paradigm shift that it's not ready for. And Marsden's suggestion that institutions consciously seek to hire people of faith and who are public in their scholarly faith and allow a seat at the table for Christian views and scholarship, I worry doesn't go far enough. I had seen firsthand the devastation caused by secularization and abandoning one's identity, faith, and principles. This school almost closed 15 years ago and has continued to struggle, and it's grown at a far smaller rate than its peers. A quote generally misattributed to the famous Alexander Hamilton, but was from a Methodist church in Iowa. It is easier to fall for anything than to stand for something. The solution is not to abandon the Christian basis for colleges and universities, or to go into exile and be cut off from the world of academia and cede higher education to the secularist identity coalition hegemony. It is on maintaining, or in some case, reestablishing a strong institutional base within a supportive community of Christian scholarship. For Christians, the coming storm, regardless of what form it should take, although some of it will probably be online, requires continue to be polite, listening to understand, while being firm that a seat at the table is not only desired, but expected and will be demanded, and to look ahead to those opportunities in the coming paradigm shift. Merry Christmas.